Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Pros podcast by Investor Fuel, the nation's premier real estate mastermind. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show we have Aaron Porter and Chris Thomas, the co-founders of AI Land Dealz. Aaron and Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I like to start off at the top.
Thanks, Dylan.
With how y'all got into real estate and your background a little bit.
Yeah, so Chris and I were best friends, known each other for over 15 years, and we actually started in med device together 15 years ago for the same company. On-call lifestyle, making good money, but just a lifestyle that was a job. I mean, it was truly, it was just a lifestyle, nights, weekends, but when you get the golden handcuffs, it's hard to leave, right?
Yep.
So, we were stuck in that for, a long time. And then one day Chris calls me, he's like, we had been kicking around ideas, starting our own thing. He calls me and he's like, hey, what do you know about flipping land? And I thought he was joking. I'm like, what are you flipping land? What? He's like, man, I just ran into another rep in a lounge and the guy made 50 grand in 6 months. And I'm okay. Now you got my attention. Right.
Yeah.
And he said he joined a coaching program called Land Profit Generator. And, 1 year coaching was like 40 grand at the time, so it's an investment, but he knew the guy, it totally changed everything in our perspective, him knowing somebody that actually done it. So we ended up joining shortly after, got into land the middle of 2022, and we ended up netting $100,000 that year. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Talk about hitting the ground running. Did you anticipate that level of success initially?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Aaron and I have always been go-getters for sure in the field that we were in med device sales. We were definitely top performers there. So I think we have high expectations for ourselves, but hitting some really strong numbers right out of the gate, especially during a coaching program, may be a little bit unexpected, but it's been awesome ever since, and we've just continued to
now for folks
grow
who
and scale
may be
and build
in a
on that
W2
year.
job, y'all were in the medical device sales space. And for folks on the outside, it may seem like, well, how do I get into real estate? There's so many different ways. There's wholesaling, there's land, there's go be an agent. Do I get in on the lending side? Do I go be a loan officer? What are the ways that I can get in? And you're looking at all these different kind of tentacles of the real estate space, and y'all chose land. So how was it? Was it divine intervention? Was it you knew somebody? Was it something came across your feed? How did you choose land?
Yeah, I think a combination of divine intervention and also I ran into a buddy of mine in med device sales that I hadn't seen in a while, and he said he got into land. We liked the idea that we could do it from home. We didn't have to go and visually inspect homes. I had always said if I ever left med device sales that I would do real estate in some capacity, whether real estate license or, like you just mentioned, all the avenues. We liked land because you can do it across the country from your home. You don't deal with tenants, you don't deal with termites, you don't deal with inspections. I would say with land as well that the competition is not nearly as lofty and as many land investors as there are home flippers across the country. So there were just a lot of things that were super appealing to us in the land space and land wholesaling. And like Aaron mentioned in the beginning, having a buddy of mine that it was doing it
From the
was kind
time
of proof in the
frame where
pudding. So
you
that's why we
had
settled
the
on it.
idea, hey, I'm going to go get into the real estate space, to doing your first deal, I think you mentioned 2022 around that time period. What was that kind of discovery, exploratory phase of just learning about the game? How long was that for you?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, so we started in a coaching program as a 1-year coaching program in like end of February 2022. Within that coaching program, they taught us A to Z how to wholesale land. But in the first couple of months, they gave you like 100 leads just by being a part of the program, and they said, "Okay, send blind offers to these 100 leads." And they kind of taught us how to do that. Look at the market value, make an offer, and just mail 100 people an actual offer. So that was our first, toe into marketing. And with those 100 leads, we actually got it. Somebody signed our sale agreement for one of those 100 blind offers, signed it, sent it back to us. I remember the day. I remember calling
What
Aaron,
season
like,
was it?
"You'll never believe we got an offer
What
accepted."
time of year was
and
it?
so ecstatic. What's that? This would have been 2 to 3 months into coaching, so probably maybe May
I remember
2022.
I
So
was
3 months
I was
after
outside
signing
on
up
my
for the coaching
lawn. I
program.
took the call. I mean, Chris was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. Like, oh my gosh, this worked, And then I still have our first check. It's $6,800. I got it framed. That was our first deal that we closed. Was $6,800 worth of net profit that I have framed in my office. But
Wow, that's proof of concept right there, right?
totally. Yeah. And to go back to what you asked before, I mean, we chose land wholesaling because there's a lower barrier to entry. I think it's gotten more competitive over the last 5 years, but house wholesalers, I think there's a lot more of them. And we chose wholesaling because it's less risk. I mean, why do I want to put my own money on the line if I don't have to? So,
Right.
I mean, it's a great way. If somebody's going to start out, I recommend wholesaling without a doubt. That's the way to go.
That's how I got my start, and I'm still wholesaling. Funny enough, today, actually this morning, I had a real estate license exam, and I passed that. Thank the Lord. Thanks, man. So yeah,
Well,
that was 8 a.m. until 12
Congrats.
noon Texas time. So right before we hopped on here. But wholesaling, I would agree, for my money's worth, is the way to get in. And as you mentioned, the residential wholesaling space is pretty packed. Like it's the secret's out of the box. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and I didn't get which area of the country y'all are in right now, but were you sending out the same contract regardless of which state it was in? Were you sending out all to one state so you didn't have to change the contract? How was the contract handled depending on where you were sending it to?
Yeah, that was one of the perks of doing this is we have one standard sale agreement that we send out regardless of the state. So Aaron and I started in Arizona. We were from Phoenix. I recently moved to Dallas about 6 months ago. But yeah, we literally work in 3 to 4 states from home. We use the same sale agreement. We use the same more or less methods with marketing through, text messaging and mail marketing, just direct to
Okay,
mail.
that's good to know. I
So
know
yeah,
I'm
we
in
use the
Dallas
same
too. I'm
regardless of
in,
the
well,
state.
not Dallas. I'm in North DFW, Denton. Um, and I think in Texas we have
Okay.
our Trek promulgated forms, which I know all about because I just had to study them. And the mentality kind of is, if it's not on a promulgated form, what am I even looking at here? When I talk with a lot of realtors. And I certainly know from when I was a wholesaler and was not studying to be a licensed realtor, I was always kind of confused why I was getting, uh, I wouldn't say pushback, but maybe something along those lines from people who were not used to my forms. Have you had to deal with anything like that, or what kind of guidance would you give folks who are maybe concerned about that?
Do you want some new listings, Dylan? We might have some for you.
I don't know if my boss for the podcast will let me do that, but I'd have to run it by him.
Just kidding.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
No, it's a great question. I mean, I think when we're talking about dealing with, there's two sides. There's the business. There's the acquisition side and the disposition side, right? On the acquisition side, we use the same agreement regardless, whether it's $1,000 property or a $500,000 property. Every once in a while, yes, you will get some pushback. There are people that want 30-day closes. There are people that want it on a track contract. The
Right.
reason we use our sale agreement is quite frankly because it protects us as the buyer. It allows us to get under contract with a seller. If there's any issues that we come across during that due diligence time, we can back out without, losing money or losing earnest deposits and things like that. It just really is a safeguard for us as the buyer. On the disposition side, yes, if we're going to, if we once we find an end buyer in Texas, for example, we will use a TREC contract at that point where we're the seller now selling it to the end buyer. But in terms of the acquisition between the current owner, the seller, and us as the buyer, our company, we use the same. It's a one-page sale agreement, super simple.
I'm not trying
Every once in a
to
while, like I say, you'll get some pushback, but not too
get
often.
any friction with me and the other realtors who may be listening, but I will say the Trek forms, there's so many of them, and I think the standard Trek 1 to 4, and I know they have the land, that's a separate one, but if you're looking at the Trek 1 to 4, it's like 11 pages. It's more than that, you know? And so I like having just one form, and I'm glad to hear that there's not too much pushback as far as you're going with that. Now, pivoting a little bit here, um, without giving away all the game, broad strokes, what strategies have you used to secure land deals? I know you mentioned a couple different lead funnels. I think if I heard you right, it was mail, and you mentioned a couple others. What strategies have you been using to lock up these deals? And then maybe also what advice could you give folks, again, without giving away all the game, on locking up a land deal?
So we're about 80% mail right now and 20% text messaging. So we're still making money from text messaging. So we're going to keep that avenue still going. But all of our big deals, they have come through mailers. I think they are the warmest leads, but the catch is it's the most expensive way to market to people,
Yep.
right? Like you can hire a cold caller or text messaging and it's a lot cheaper, but we've just found that mail, it just works for us. And some people do blind offers where they'll just send out an actual dollar amount. We tried that a couple times. It doesn't really work for us. So we just send out a neutral letter saying, hey, here's our company. We buy and sell land in your area. Please, if you have any interest in selling for cash, give us a call back at our 24-hour voicemail service. And we get that message, so we're not paying any money for an answering service on that regard. And, we call them back because that's what we're good at, is talking to people. So some people don't really want to do that, and I get it, but that's been our sweet sauce, is talking to people and following up. The follow-up is so crucial.
Yep.
Like you have to have spreadsheets. Chris's middle name is Spreadsheet, by the way. That's illegal. He just got it changed. I had him change it. The Spreadsheet. So,
No, it's totally, Aaron's spot on. I want to piggyback on that slightly. Like, we talk to every single lead that comes in personally on the phone. We follow up with every single lead 4 to 5, possibly even 6 times. And then the last thing I would say, and kind of also our secret sauce, is we do things a little different with our offers. We take into account the county assessed values for properties, knowing that, look, there are going to be sellers that you call and work that, that are leads that want market value and know what the market value is in their properties. Those aren't ones that we're going to acquire, right? Because there's no money as an investor to be made on a property that you buy at market value. But the other seller that, has a distressed, has tax delinquent, has taxes delinquent, or inherited the property. A lot of times they're just looking to get rid of the property. They're looking for a solution, and we're trying to be that solution for them. With that seller, if we can offer them close to the county assessed value for their property, we've kind of made it our business over the past 3 years of looking at areas that have a discrepancy between assessed to market value, meaning the market value is up here and the assessed value is down here. Because if we can acquire properties at the assessed value, knowing the market value is $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 higher than what the county assessed value is, A, we know we can get the property under contract with the seller, and B, we know we can sell it and make a profit on it. And I would say that was probably the biggest thing we learned along the way, and what became our secret sauce is finding markets that have those margins. But the key is finding those markets, right? It's how do you find areas that the assessed value hasn't caught up to the market value quite yet, and that's. That's kind of what we built our business on over the past 3 years.
I'm relatively new to DFW. I got here last September. When I was in San Antonio, there's areas where those values can sometimes put you in a tough spot, at least when I was looking at single family homes. Have you found that to be the case, or is it pretty much for land? Look, if it's below or at the assessed value, it's a deal.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
No, it's a great point. No, there's definitely in the land space, it's people talking in terms of counties, right? When you're going to market to if you're in Texas, for example, and you want to market to, Hunt County, Texas, right? It's all county based. There are without a doubt, counties and even zip codes where the assessed value has caught up to the market value.
Yeah.
So for us, those aren't great counties and zip codes to work in. We're looking for those counties and zip codes that the assessed value has not
As you're
caught
saying
up to
that,
the
something
market
piqued my
value. So
interest
there's
here. You know,
both throughout the country.
in the wholesale space, I'm looking at I have to be close to a metro. I have to be because I need to find buyers, and no one's going to want to send their crew, an hour and a half away from a metro. So the big four, in Texas, you got Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. Now, I don't know, and this is really just me being relatively ignorant to land here, is can you buy and get a lot of deals away from the metros, and is it maybe advantageous to do so because you won't run into that issue as much?
Absolutely. I think a few of our biggest deals have been out in the rural areas, because you have the ability to get bigger acreage, right? So the bigger acreage you can get, there's going to be more meat on the bone typically than with an infill lot in a downtown metro.
Mm.
And yeah, and to piggyback on what Chris was saying, with the assessed to market value, that has helped our acceptance rate. I mean, our acceptance rates are around 20%. So if we send out 10 offers, we get 2 of them accepted. And that rate is extremely high talking
Yeah.
to anybody else in the land business. So,
Wow. That's you're piquing my interest. Now I'm thinking about how I get myself a land deal. I haven't really looked into it. I actually selfishly, I'm curious how y'all would attack this. Um, of course, you're going to have land with mobile homes on them. Do you make offers on those properties? Or are you looking specifically for clear land with nothing on it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're gonna encounter that from time to time. We are looking for raw land. There are
Right.
going to be situations where there's rundown barn dominiums, there's a mobile home and things like that. I just am super clear with sellers since we speak to every single one. I'll say, look, I'm gonna make you an offer, but I'm gonna make you an offer on the land. If there's a structure of some sort that you want to keep, like a mobile home, feel free. I'm going to make you an offer on the land. You can either keep the mobile home or you can keep it on the land. Just know ahead of time that the offer is going to be based on the price of the land and not necessarily what's on it. And so I leave it up to the seller. Do you want to remove the structure, the barn dominium, the mobile home, or do you want to just leave it
And
on
then
there and we'll take care of
once
it
you have these
as the
properties under
buyer?
contract, that's probably the biggest battle, and you got to have items on the shelf in order to sell the goods, right? But finding buyers for land can also, for someone like myself or someone who's not done it before, can seem tricky. Where do I go? Where do I find people that are buying land? So, talk a little bit about that, and also I'm imagining how the process has changed over time for you.
well, we like working with realtors. If you can find a solid realtor, that's how we sell a majority of our property.
Mm, okay.
But, some don't want to work with wholesalers. They say you have to own it outright. It varies by state, but most states allow a wholesaler to, have their property listed as long as it's in your contract that you can list and market it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's a big way that we sell. The next highest is probably neighbor letters. So we send out 30 to 40 letters of everybody close to that area. I mean, if it's buttressing up right against that property, I mean that's a home run. We try to call those people like on the phone,
Yeah.
but then if we can't get a hold of them, we mail out 30 to 40 letters. And then we still work on Facebook Marketplace. That's number 3. And then land.com also is another avenue.
Wow. I have very specific questions that I want to ask. You can say no to some of these because I don't want to make you give away all the game. But
Hey,
um,
we're open and transparent. There's really not much that we won't share.
okay, then I think we'll give our listeners some good value here. So I'm thinking from the perspective of a seller who's not distressed. I have land. I'm not using it. I'm not making any money off of it. And yeah, I'm paying taxes, but I like having the land. Not in a rush to sell it, right? So I might not be the ideal uh, seller in this case, but I'm getting an offer, right? and I'm looking at the offer and I'm like, I got an offer on my land, wasn't expecting an offer on it. Um, what I've seen is that when I am wholesaling and I push a closing date out, uh, however many days, if it's weeks or month or more, that's going to lower my chances of me getting the contract. And same thing for an option period. So if I'm doing an option period of, 3 days versus 3 weeks, that's going to change how they're looking at my offer. When you're structuring your offers, those two items that I mentioned, the option period and then the close date, how far out are you going?
Yeah, close date, we're doing 4 months. That's our standard sale agreement is 4 months, after signature essentially is the close date. We will do options at times. Typically, options are for sellers that do have pushback with the 4 month close. We'll say, hey, look, let's do an option. Let's do an option where it's non-exclusive. If at any time over the next 2-3 months of this option agreement, you come across and say, hey, Chris, I just had somebody give me a $10,000 offer higher than yours. No sweat off my back. I'm not in the industry to take money out of your pocket. If you can make a little bit extra with somebody else, hey, more power to you. So we just try to be super upfront and transparent with people. But our standard sale agreement is 4 months. I would say 1 out of 20 people have, maybe a question or two regarding that. The other, to be honest, they don't want to deal with it anymore. They see an offer, a price, it's a net price. We pay all closing costs. They see it on paper in front of them, and who knows what they're currently going through financially or not. But they see something on paper. The 4 month, close date is really a mute point. They just see that, wow, these guys are going to buy my property. I don't have to literally lift a finger. I don't have to hire a realtor. I don't have to do any marketing. They'll do everything for me. And this is the price I get at closing.
Year or
Let's
so,
do it.
we had a 6 month close date on that agreement. And we were getting a little bit of pushback. So we adjusted it to 4 months. It also, if we haven't sold it in 3 months, are we going to sell it at 6? Probably not,
Right.
So why not just shorten it to 4? And that gives us a good enough buffer.
Now, are you finding that the typical seller who's going under contract with you guys is in some level of distress, or does it just vary? Is it, all types of different sellers?
It's all type. Some of this business is just being blessed, and some of it is just like timing, right? Like I had a seller in Florida late last year who had a big like tax, he was going to have to pay a big tax bill. And I guess this would have been last year around this time. Would have had to pay like a big tax bill. He knew the property was worth more than what I was giving it for him, but my amount that was net to him was going to pay for his tax bill for his other businesses that he needed to rectify and pay for. So he was like, yeah, let's do it. Right. And so there's that. It's timing. It's, they don't want to pay taxes on it anymore. It's, they inherited it because grandma and grandpa, passed it down and their parents recently passed away. It's, we have sellers that, unfortunately go through like a divorce and things like that. And there are all kinds of hardships that, people suffer. And we're just trying to be a solution for them and say, hey, you don't have to lift a finger. We'll do all the work for you. Here's the price you'll get when we close. And
this is really
so
interesting
it depends. It's kind of the whole
perspective,
gambit.
because all of the sellers that I deal with to the last one are distressed. They're distressed. They're getting and this is in what I do in my business outside of the podcast. They're going into foreclosure, or they're dealing with some type of financial hardship. They're getting willed a property that they don't want to have to maintain. Something is bothering them in their lives, but this doesn't sound like that's the case. And so, for me, hearing everything that you guys have said, you don't have to say, hey, I'm going to close in 2 weeks, I'm going to close in 30 days. There's maybe even potentially, correct me if I'm wrong, less attachment because it's not where they're physically living in all times. I'm sure sometimes there is if they've, family and anything like that, but it honestly seems like it's less hairy of a deal than a lot of these single family residential properties.
I think you hit it on the head there. I mean, you don't have that emotional tie to a house, right? Those memories, and people are going to sell that at a fire sale. Like that's a tough sale, tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. This land, a lot of times they've never even seen it, like
Really?
they're out of state, it got handed down and they're just paying a tax bill and they're like, oh yeah, I visited it 10 years ago, but like, I'm done with it, so like Chris said, we're just trying to be a solution for them.
Now, transitioning out of the W-2 medical device into your own wholesale land company, how long did that process take? It's 2025 now. You did your first deal in 2022. So what was that process like?
I took the leap first. You know, Pretty much when we first started. I'm single, no kids. Chris has a wife and a son, so he stayed with the W-2 a little longer, but he got out of that after a year. Once we made that 100 grand, and okay, we
This is it.
proof is in the pudding. Like it works, so let's just go all in on it. So
Wow.
a year or less, I think. I mean, you can see you're gaining traction, and then that's the beauty of land or any kind of wholesaling business is like, see if it has legs, like, but you have to put in the work. Nothing's,
Yep.
it's not easy. It's a simple business, but it's not easy, but anybody can do it. They really can.
I agree completely. For me, uh, much like you have your business relationship, friendship with Chris, I have a mentor here in Denton who is how I'm sitting in this chair. And I literally cold called him when I was in San Antonio and had a property under an assignable contract, did not know who he was. And I was like, hey man, I have this property that's in Azle, distressed property. I see on Investor Lift you've got a couple deals that you've locked up over there. He's like, who's calling me? Blah blah blah. And he didn't like the deal. He didn't like the photos that I sent him. He's like, is this an Android phone? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Like in my head, that's what I'm thinking. But I just followed up with him, followed up with him, followed up with him, and now I'm literally sitting in his office at one of his ranch homes in Denton because he told me like the San Antonio market isn't it for single family wholesaling. Get up to DFW, which I don't know if that's accurate or not, but here I am. And that's how I ended up being on this podcast was through a referral to Mike Hambright, our owner. Hey, give Dylan a shot. And so for me, and I think for everybody listening, these strategic relationships that you can build, which might seem like nothing at the time, like a cold call, right? Or in your guys' case, when you were first getting to know each other, I wonder if there was any thought that we're going to be launching a real estate business down the line. You know what I mean?
Zero. No, that was not in the cards. But like when we joined that coaching program, like you're saying, our network now is so vast. And, if Chris and I don't know the answer to something, like we're a phone call away from knowing the answer. Someone we know knows, or if we need transactional funding, like we know people that can get it done, you know?
That's
I
it.
mean, that's invaluable. It really is.
We're coming up on time here, guys. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, I mean, let me kind of finish with this, I guess, is that, we, like I talked about the assess to market value. When we first started, that's like the $1 million question in the industry, Dylan, is, especially as a land wholesaler, is where do I market to? And so when we kind of came across this assess to market value strategy, we said about a year ago, we're like, man, why can't we do this for the whole country? Why can't we take the entire country, all the counties and zip codes, and look at assessed values, look at market values, and find those margins and those discrepancies? And about a year ago, we started this endeavor, and it's called AI Land Dealz with a Z. Um, we launched 3 weeks ago that software, and it does exactly that. It takes every county and zip code in the United States and it highlights them green, yellow, or red. Green meaning there's a big discrepancy between assessed to market value on the majority of land parcels in that county or zip code. Yellow is a little bit, and red means it's caught up. And it does that for the entire country. So it's a great place to start, or even if you've been in this business and you're like, let me try to attack new markets and where the best places to market to is. It's called AI Land Dealz. You can go on our website, www.ailanddealz.com, book a demo. Aaron or I, or both of us at times, will do your demo. We'll do a 45-minute demo, show you the software. Love to answer any questions. And then all of our users on top of it, we do a once a week Zoom call where you as a land investor get to come on and ask us any questions from how to use the software to, hey, can you comp this land
I'm not aware of any competition that you guys have. I've never heard of this or anything close to it. I'm going to check it out personally. I want to know about land. But we are coming up on time here, guys. I do want to thank you for being on the show today. And to our listeners, if you're in the W-2, maybe you're doing medical device sales, maybe you're, teacher, it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's a path there where you can make a little bit of extra money. There's a path there where you can make a whole lot of extra money, maybe launch a real estate career. But if you're looking to get into land, go check out AILandDealz.com. Book a demo with Chris and Aaron. Guys, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Dylan.
Take care, guys.
Dylan, thank you so much for your time. It was awesome.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.